Hi, today we're going to be changing the water pump on this 2002 Chevy Tahoe. Never done it before, but we'll see how it goes. This is the new water pump. It's new, rebuilt water pump. It has two gaskets go there against the block and a hose here and two hoses here hook up to it. And then you got to redo your serpentine belt and screw the fan on the front of it. And hopefully I have the tools to do it. We'll see. Okay, first thing I think you need to do is take this air stuff off the top of it and then remove the shroud off the fan. So we'll take this hose loose from the mass airflow sensor. Get you closer. And you get your belt tension over here, you'll need to loosen up also. I'll pull the shroud off the radiator. And need a wrench for that. You have to remember where everything goes back, so when you put it back together, you don't lose anything. Water pump's been leaking for about 2 or 3 weeks. I finally got the time to replace it. This top radiator hose hooks to the water pump, so you can go ahead and get it off and out of the way. Need a pair of pliers for that. Try to get me a pair of pliers. And if you're living in the city or on clay, you'll want to catch this. But I've been running water in here for about a week. Very little antifreeze. And it's on sand, so it'll just soak right in. got to remove these little clips so that you can separate the shroud. They're really annoying to get to and hard to get to. Pretty simple once you figure out how to get to them. I'll show you one that's like this. This little pin expands, and then when you pull the pin up, then that squishes and you can pull it out. It's got 4 of them. My shroud only has 3 of them. One of them's missing. But they're in a difficult position to get to. And they're old and haven't been moved in a long time. I did not like to come out. There we go. Got it up. And got it out. There it is. As simple as getting this pin to come up and it pops right out. Remove the top half of the radiator shroud. Get it broke loose, it should just unscrew. You need to look at your water pump, be sure you got the direction correct. Makes it a whole lot easier if you know which direction to loosen it. And the fan's off. Top radiator hose is off. All right, this right here is your pulley tensioner. I'm going to take the tension off of it so I can remove the belt. I need to pull it over, take the tension off, pull the belt off somewhere, and then remove the belt. If it's like my car, you'll have to remember how it goes on because the sticker that tells how it goes is gone. You can use your phone and take a picture of it so you know the right routing. Check your pulleys, be sure they spin smoothly while you're there. Just to be sure there's no other problems. Remove your pulley tensioner because it happens to be bolted to the water pump. It's best to take everything off of it before you remove it from the engine, that way you don't have to hold it. Been nice they made that more flat so it holds your tools better while you're working on it. Of course, that'd be more necessary if this was a Ford. All right, we're going to take the thermostat out of here, which is hooked to the lower radiator hose. And I think I can leave the hose hooked to it. I'm just going to take the thermostat loose. See it right here, got a lot of wobble and in play. And so the bearing's shot in it. It's been squawking for a few months. It only squeaked a little bit when you cranked it up, and then last about 3 weeks it's been leaking a little bit of radiator fluid, but not bad. And I've been busy working, so I just add a little fluid in it before you start in the morning and keep going. I've just been putting water in it since it's summertime here. I have to unhook the 2 heater hoses off of here, which runs back to run your heater. And they got more of them clamps. A lot of people don't like these clamps. I happen to like them. They're easier than hose clamps. They don't over tighten. They just hold the right amount of pressure to keep it from leaking. And they work great right up to the point they don't. Which I always keep them because they seem to work better than hose clamps because you can't over tighten them. And your hoses don't stick as bad too. They're easier to get loose. Last 2 hoses. If you don't remember how stuff went, you can always take pictures of it with your phone. All right, I'm fixing to take off the water pump. It's got 3 bolts here and 3 bolts over here on this side. I went and looked at the new one to know exactly where the bolts are and how many there is. Makes it easier and faster than looking through the oil and grease trying to find your bolts. You always remember lefty loosey, righty tighty. Don't over tighten your bolts. You don't want to break off the bolt. Me, I like to just loosen all the bolts, and then you can do with just your hand instead of having to use the ratchet. Get them all loose first, and then just unscrew them by hand. And if the bolts are different lengths, you got to remember which hole goes where. So you always remember what order you took the bolts out of. put them in the right order. Bottom to top is left to right. Milk bolt here's a little stiff. Did everything right, it should be free. Bolts through will hold it in place. The gasket in place. Tilt it over and dump the balls out. Gasket's in place. Put it down here. I'm gonna do the top bolt on either side. Get that started into the thread hole. Get the started in the thread hole. Get that started. Get this next one started. There we go. Get the last one started on both sides. Now we know our gasket's in place. All the bolts are started. Now we'll hand tighten them all. Well, be sure you start it by hand and hand tighten. That way you be sure you don't cross thread or anything like that. This is the first time I've ever worked on an LS motor. Typically you just change the oil and drive them. You don't need to work on them. But water pumps is something that gives it up about 200,000 miles, and this thing's got right at 200,000 on it. So it was time to put a new water pump in it. You just do everything in reverse the way you took it apart and get it back together. You just got to remember how you took it apart and do it all on backwards. And then is that reverse order? Okay. Go. Pulley. Is your tensioner pulley? Got to go back on. Small screw goes on the bottom. Two long screws go on the top. Okay, you put the serpentine belt on. Pretty simple. Just loop it around there, and down there, back up to here. Be sure it's in all the grooves correctly. Goes over this, and then down under here. On here, right? Be sure it's on there, right? On there, right? On there. On your bottom pulley, right? Simply rotate this over, drop it into there. Double check. Make sure it's on all the grooves, right? Simple as that. Work. Okay, and then up to it. Push pin. Be one more push pin. Radiator hose. brake on. Big prep pliers. All right, last thing is to add coolant in it. Here goes the second bottle of coolant. All right. Crank it up and let it start circulating. All right, I'm finished. Thanks for watching. Like I said, I'm not a mechanic. I just don't like paying other people to do what I can do myself.